Greetings, horror fans. Tomie, Another Face was released in 1999, the first sequel to the J-horror Tomie, which was released a year earlier. This movie was intended to be a TV series. It's 3 episodes put together as an anthology and went straight to video. Hi, I'm Andy. This is Beyond Graves and Stars, the horror and sci-fi podcast. Throughout the next year or so, myself and Adam Whybray are going to be looking at the whole franchise. I'm new to the franchise, and Adam had only really read the manga before we set off to do these episodes. So we're kind of going in blind, watching and then straight after talking about each episode. So join us. If you can get hold of the films yourselves, watch along with us if you haven't already seen them. The first one is available pretty much anywhere to stream by. There's a Blu-ray of it. The sequels are more difficult, but they are out there and you can get them. So this is the second episode. If you haven't heard the first already, look back through whatever source you're listening to this on. You can find that. And this is our conversation. And I will say that we didn't research much at all. And normally, if you listen to this podcast, I do. I'm currently doing Stephen King movies. I do a fair bit of research. But for these, we're just watching them, enjoying them, and then chatting about them. This is where I'd usually play a trailer, but they're only trailers I could find. And there wasn't an English dub, and it would just sound noisy. So I thought I'll skip it this time. But yes, thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed the conversation and the movie as much as we did. Adam, welcome back.
Hello, hey Andy.
You all right?
I'm all right. I'm okay. I've been doing quite a lot of primary school stuffing recently. I had an entertaining time with year threes yesterday. I was having to teach them the Last Supper, and one of the activities was getting up 2 of the kids, one of them to play Jesus, one of them to play Judas, and then have the rest of the class ask them questions. So we had some interesting theological questions, such as, does Jesus eat people? I think they were intrigued by the fact that Jesus gives his body as bread for people to eat. Yeah. So I guess they wanted to know whether he does it the other way around as well. I didn't think so, but I'm no expert.
I forgot how good young kids are at improv.
Oh God, they know. And one of them was like, "What colour's hell?" And I tried to think about it. Then another one said, "It's red. Of course, it's red." I was like, "Oh yeah, I should have known. Obviously, it is red."
Got these images of these really aggressive, angry kids. You're just like, "Yeah, it's cool."
Yeah. They were some of them get a bit hyped up and insistent in their views.
Yeah.
So that was quite entertaining. But yeah, glad to be back discussing another Tomie film. Yeah. Although probably going to end up saying Tomie, which we did last time. Tomie.
Yeah. This is the sequel. Well, it's a difficult one. This, if you've been listening to the podcast regularly, I'm also slowly with a guy called Benji going through the Universal Soldier sequels, and in that franchise, it goes off in 2 directions. One for TV and one a proper, Hollywood, not necessarily cinema films, but not for TV, for DVD and that sort of thing. Whereas this first sequel, Another Face, released in 1999, so not too long after the original, was made for TV. It says V episodes, whatever that means.
Video episodes.
Yeah, so maybe it was released individually on videos or something. Like you used to get things like that back in the 90s.
Yeah,
and then it was sliced together for this straight to video movie. And I didn't realise that going in. I kind of went in blind. I knew it was made for TV, but I didn't realise it was an anthology.
Yeah, I mean, these are fairly direct adaptations of 3 of the Junji Ito Tomie comics. Yeah. I recognise the plot beats for these ones more actually than I did with the first film. So I guess Tomie is Junji Ito's property, and it seems like there were various attempts. I mean, Junji Ito's a very popular horror mangaka, and so I think there are seemingly various attempts late 90s and then into the early 2000s of adapting these comics, and eventually it seems that that we get a kind of settled performer playing Tomie, and they become more like sequels. But in a way, the kind of sequel, not format, but it's kind of baked in to the whole premise of Tomie. And clearly Ito had come up with her as a character that allows him to kind of have a recurring monster, I suppose, and then build different stories and different horror ideas around her. And his early career, I guess he goes back to her over the years, but like I guess the first sort of maybe a decade of his output, he does a lot of these Tomie comics, and then later he moves on to kind of other, like Uzumaki, which is perhaps now more famous, and other standalone stories. So this is kind of, they're really how he gets started. So yeah, I guess because she can't be killed, basically, and so she always comes back, and she also manages to clone herself, seemingly, when she gets killed. The idea of endless Tomie stories is kind of baked in to the original concept.
And that's the thing as well, you do what you want with it, basically, with this character. You could put her anywhere, or it anywhere. But me saying that, it's a sequel, this is before it was a franchise. So as they made this, there might not have been any intention to make any other movies at all. So it's like a spin-off of the movie.
And it does feel, like you said, it feels like it's the start of a potential television series.
It feels like a pilot, in a way, as in, out of the 3 chapters, which we'll go through in a minute, the last one to me felt like it was the pilot for how it's all going to go. Well, it has this sort of, the only recurring chapter apart from Tomie herself through the 3 different stories is this, what was he called? Uta. And I can't remember Uta from the manga, but it's been quite a few years, admittedly. And it seems like they're using Uta potentially as the character, like the kind of possibly protagonist. We can debate whether Tomie is quite an antagonist or a protagonist. It's odd. But anyway, that he's going to be the one trying to hunt her down in her different forms across Japan, and it does seem like he's going to be the kind of central character who connects. Do you remember the Incredible Hulk series? And there was that.
No,
there was an Incredible Hulk series which I recommend from the 70s and early 80s. There was like a detective following him about who was like onto him. And it had that feel to, because he only appears briefly in the first 2, and then you find out who he is in the second. And he's a very inconspicuous man in a trench coat and eye patch, which is like the most cliche, I'm following someone anyway.
Sometimes with a camera, like popping up from the bushes.
It was like, when he first appeared in the first part, I was like, is that some sort of Japanese Nick Fury recruiting monsters? But yeah, I mean,
he gets dismissed as a street pervert. Several times.
Drinking game for this film. Every time they say pervert or street pervert, you do a shot. You will not be standing. I don't think I've even heard the term street pervert before this.
No, I don't. There must be a specific Japanese word.
I mean, is there an inside pervert as well as on the street?
I imagine so.
I suppose that's it.
But.
So this free chapter. Let's talk about the first one quickly. Set in a school, this one. Isn't it?
I think the first one is like an adaptation of the first Tomie story, which in a way the first movie is as well. And I guess it's really trying to establish that she's, well, is she always a schoolgirl? I don't know. I guess she always, because she isn't really a schoolgirl. She's some kind of demon. But anyway, that she's sort of, I don't know, 17, 18 years old, and that we establish the fact that she gets killed and people think she's dead, and then she comes back in some form, and that she's always killed by a man. I think always killed by a man, and certainly always killed by someone who's infatuated with her. And obviously, Junji Ito, has been accused of misogyny over the years. I mean, definitely his adaptation of No Longer Human, which is like a Japanese novel, the adapted, he kind of puts much more seductive women who turn the main character mad into it. And I saw, a pretty scathing review of that. I think it's kind of complicated with Tomie though, because she's simultaneously, like, obviously she's victim and antagonist rolled up into one, and because the men, young men and older men, who target her are generally so pathetic, right? They're very hard to feel much sympathy for.
Well, this is the thing, because sometimes you do feel sympathetic for them, but the moral of the
maybe
tale,
a bit of pity.
Yeah,
sometimes.
But surely their moral tales about being infatuated and that sort of thing is how it might come across like it's misogynistic, but I think the intention is the opposite.
Kind of. I think in a way they're about, like, these men who kind of weak-willed, and they kind of lose any moral compass they had, and that they project a lot onto Tomie. Really, it kind of makes sense that she is almost just an embodiment of male desire.
Yeah.
And the issue the men have is more with their desire than anything else. Yeah. Well, so, and also she's, I guess, like you get with slashers, in as much as with, Freddy or Jason, that she's a much more endurable character than any of the other characters who surrounds her, and so you kind of want her to win.
Like in the first story, it opens with you find the dead body of her.
Yeah, with a
homeless man on the street,
with a shock wig,
who I assume is a street pervert, finds the body, and then they're talking cuts to the school. They're talking about how she's died, and she comes back. And she just appears back at the school. I'm not going to go through the whole thing.
Sure.
But what I want to emphasise is it's revealed that her boyfriend has left another girl for her. Yeah. And he becomes the victim, so to speak. And to me, I saw this as basically a moral tale about him ditching someone because he's infatuated with someone else for no other reason than he's just infatuated with her. He doesn't know her. He just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the first story, it's and for me as well, as I didn't know it was this anthology. Yeah, I thought there was going to be so much more to it, but it is literally her coming back, getting revenge. Boom, ends. I said to you, is this where the adverts would be? And then it says story 2. But yeah, it's 20 minutes. Could be a almost like Twilight Zone episode.
Actually, there is something quite Twilight Zone-y about the Tomie stories, in a way,
and I felt as well that you could go off and they could have made season upon season of this doing different things, but watching 3 back to back was a bit is going through the motions.
I think that's the danger with the stories, and I'm intrigued to see what the sequels do. I mean, one of the limitations here is that it's very low budget, right? Especially compared to the first film, and which feels like a very mid-budget film. This is a made-for-TV, made-for-video film, and so there's not much at all in the way of special effects. No. And as a horror manga artist, Junji Ito is best known for his body horror, and that's what he's really good at. And in a way, that's what you're potentially reading the comics or reading the manga. You're looking forward to the splash pages. You're looking forward to the full page body horror shocker moments, which normally comes at the culmination of the story. And so if we go on to the second one, for instance, that one's about a photographer who's infatuated by Tomie, sees her as his ideal, and gets an obsessive desire to photograph her, which Tomie seems quite interested in, although unimpressed by the results of the photography. And when the photographs are revealed in the manga, they're really grisly. So you basically see Tomie with a beatific smiling face, but then another sort of cancerous, hideous head growing out of it with, sort of just, growths and tendrils and all sorts. And here, the other head growing out of it is just like a slightly cross, mean-looking Tomie. And it's like, okay, she doesn't really look like a demented demon, which is what it is in the comic.
It almost looks like it could have just been developed wrong. But But I will say as well, budget is a thing. But remembering this is the late 90s and made for TV, so maybe they couldn't actually go too grotesque and too gory and too.
That's a very fair point.
And I was surprised as well in later on. There's no foul language or anything until the very end.
Yeah, Tommy swears later.
And I didn't know whether that was because it's obviously a different language. I don't know whether they put some swears in the British subtitles to get up a certificate to make it like a 15, so to appeal to, you know what I mean? It's like there was known for a lot of manga or animes that they would give them a higher certificate or put little things in.
Yeah, although it can also go the opposite way. I mean, Cardcap to Sakura is a good example where the English dub is actually, you know, and I think some of it was maybe even re-edited, but like where thematically it's a lot lighter than the rather dark original. So obviously it's really tricky. It's not kind of one-way street because what is seen as more or less acceptable differs across cultures. What's seen as, you know, like I remember being quite shocked, and I think this is a very American thing, by watching The Simpsons few years back now, but when they were all put on Disney Plus, and they allowed the whole, as far as I could see, of the Cartridge Family episode, which is the episode where Homer gets the gun, and there's lots of, you know, Homer behaving irresponsibly with the gun and shooting things out, and, you know, it's a fine episode. That didn't seem to be censored at all. And yet, in the Bart versus Australia episode,
they took Knifey Spoony.
They completely cut the brilliant Knifey Spoony. So clearly, American censorship or Disney decided a reference to a knife is much worse than a reference to a gun.
That might be because that's the British one, and knife crime over here a few years ago was very all over the media, wasn't it?
But it also struck me as maybe in America, like, you know, gun ownership is sort of enshrined in the Constitution and it's seen as, you know, a kind of a more normal thing, than over here owning a gun is seen as, you know, I don't think I know many people at all who own guns here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't tell anyone.
But obviously, you know, in the countryside, my parents live in a village, so you get the farmers, but apart from that.
Yeah, I mean, the Simpsons thing is really interesting, what they cut and what they did. And I will just quickly going off the topic. I've watched the whole latest series of The Simpsons, and I think it's back on track again.
Oh, really?
I think it's got better than a few years ago.
Oh my gosh! Well, I can't. I'm on Bob's Burgers now. I've watched all of King of the Hill. I don't watch much TV. I watched the new King of the Hill, which is all right. It's okay. They make
good.
Bobby a bit too normy, which upset me. But apart from that, it's good. But I'm finally got on to Bob's Burgers now.
I've seen the first series in the film.
Well, I basically like Tina. I pretty much watch it for Tina. So it was my spirit animal.
So the second story of Tomie, Another Face, the photographer. In that as well, I took from it that he is obsessed with photography, but it's not photography he's obsessed with, it's women.
Oh, yeah.
He will not take a picture of a man, even for a free beer.
That's really funny, that bit. He goes to a bar, and the
bartender.
Sort of says something about, hey, you can take a photo of me, and he's like, I don't take photos of men.
Yeah. Also, from someone who works in and runs a bar, if someone comes in and just orders a beer, I'm really offy with people. Like, which beer? You might as well say, I'll have a drink.
Yeah.
Which I have had people say.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a niggle for
me.
But obviously in films they're not allowed to say the brand. So
but this is a good example of, like,
have a light ale.
My finding the kind of male nominal protagonists, right, you know, that I don't think they're often portrayed particularly sympathetically. Sometimes they're a bit wretched, you feel a bit sorry for them. But this guy clearly thinks he's all that. Yeah. He's wearing these ridiculous, like, yellow-coloured tinted wraparound shades. Yeah. And, you know, he's driving his sports car. And he just obviously seems like an asshole.
Oh, yeah, his sports car's like one of the 60s James Bond type cars.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's stereotypical. He's almost like a cool dad.
Yeah. So he's inherently quite a ludicrous figure, and so I think it kind of makes his fixation on this, you know, quite young girl, like, sympathetic and laughable.
Yeah. I'm going to get this out here as well. Yeah. He says he is obsessed from Tomie, who he knew from his youth.
Yeah,
and he'd see her when he was young, after school, and he was obsessed with him, wanting to get
gazing out on a hilltop.
Yeah, and it's stuck in his mind. And then later on, when he meets her again, at first he assumes it's the daughter.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, the daughter of her, brilliant. He sleeps with her, and then later it reveals it was only 10 years ago. Anyway, so he must have known she's not 10. She's clearly not 10.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like this man is just so obsessed, maybe, that it's like he doesn't think, he doesn't know.
Yeah, it's overridden his logic.
Yeah, or it's badly written. One of the two. I'm thinking more that it's just him being obsessed and but yeah, it was another enjoyable little chapter, I think, and it was, same themes and that, but it was different enough for me that
it feels slightly more film noir-y.
Yeah,
that one, like lots of very sort of shadowy scenes in the bar, and him smoking his cigarettes, and also I enjoyed how this is where the kind of oddly Twin Peaks like Angelo Badalamenti style music, like light jazz, comes on the soundtrack, which is fun.
In the first one, you hear a bit of. It sounds a bit Twin Peaks, but not to that extent. But also, I'll go back to the first one as well. The way it was filmed and it was in a school and looked really cheap reminded me of. Do you remember a kids show called Ghostwriter? Like an American thing. Oh my
gosh, vaguely actually.
We were made to watch that in school, but it was on normal TV as well.
Yeah, I do. It has triggered a memory. And
it reminded me a bit of that, and also because a lot of it was on like rooftops and badly acted, I couldn't help thinking of The Room. So.
I say badly. I do think that do we have her name? Because I do think that the woman playing Tomie is pretty good.
I mean, we probably do have a name, but I won't be able to pronounce it. So if you'd like to pronounce it,
okay, I guess I don't know if my Japanese is.
Oh, it's not that difficult. It looks easier. There you go.
Any better? Runa Nagai.
Yeah, we'll say that.
I think
Runa Nagai, if you're listening, and.
She's really good. Yeah. I think she really captures Tomie's sort of sneaky, seductive expressions that Junji Ito draws in the manga, like the way that she can look really sort of doe-eyed, and then really like ho 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 at the next moment. She does a really good job at her faces.
Just seeing if she's done anything else. She's been in a few other films, and it looks like a documentary about Perfect Blue. She was in that.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I can imagine Perfect
as herself. So. Talking about it or narrating.
That's really interesting. I wonder if she did voice acting for Perfect Blue. I mean, you could certainly connect Perfect Blue to Tomie. Like, there is a bit of a kind of Junji Ito vibe to say Perfect Blue and Paprika. But yeah, I think her performance sells it. Yeah, some of the other performances around her are ropey. Although the guy who played the photographer had some very funny expressions.
Yeah, his name's Akira Haikai, by the sound.
And he's
only in this. And he's this is on Letterboxd, so it might be that he's done other TV stuff. And
he was really going for it. You know, he made some really entertaining, like goofy expressions of looking infatuated.
If this had have gone on to be a series and he became the protagonist, and it's like.
Oh, were you thinking of the man with the eye patch?
Yeah.
I was thinking of the photographer, but the guy with the eye patch is, a sort of more shadowy figure at first, and we find out in the third episode that he lost his eye when Tomie revived herself in a morgue, and then to escape stabbed him in the eye, which sadly we don't see, and then tastefully crawls away with the towel wrapped around her.
I don't like tastefully in these films. That's one thing I want to mention. The first two stories are quite simple and almost perfectly paced. Enough happens in them in the 21 or 22 minutes. Short stories, beginning, middle, end, fine. Whereas the last part seemed a lot was going on in that last half an hour.
Well, that's what you said. You felt the last one was really trying to set up a series.
Yeah, no, I felt like the last one could have been a 50-minute or an hour.
Yes, it felt a bit overstuffed.
You get the main guy meeting Tomie, that relationship, as well as the backstory of the Ota. Did we say his name was?
Yeah, Ota or Uta.
Uta. So you've got all that, and then it basically says where Tomie can go. So for me, it did feel rushed. And there was even a bit in it, like a little bit of a chase bit, was sped up in Benny Hill style.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's what's in my head, thinking, well, they've sped this up. But it was enjoyable, the most going on in it. And to me, if it wasn't for the slow reveal of Eye Patch Man, which I'm going to call him, I think that would have been the first part. but you want the audience to think a few episodes, who is this guy?
Yeah, to try to get them hooked in.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, it would have been interesting if it had gone on into a full series, but obviously I'm glad that we're going to have these, middle budget films going forward, because I do think that you need a degree of the body horror, and maybe what makes them more palatable, rightly or wrongly, is her being more obviously a supernatural demon.
Yeah,
because at the end you have a credit sequence, and it's a bit odd because you have various Tomie corpses, and it does look a little bit like a kind of idol photo shoot.
Yeah,
and you're like, no, not that. That kind of leans more into what is troubling about this. Whereas I think when Tomie obviously does have supernatural powers, like, I don't know, maybe the balance between her being vulnerable and victimized, but also actually, being powerful.
We record this in my flat, and there's a doorbell that goes off in my flat. If the doorbell goes, that was that. You may have also heard a spooky sign moving backwards and forwards. Have you picked up on this?
No.
The sign outside's squeaky, and sometimes when I'm recording in here, I try not to record in here, but when it's busy downstairs, I have to, and I don't hear this sign. And when I listen back, I hear it. But with horror, it works. It sounds spooky. So I'm not going to edit that out. But I just hope someone opens the door so that it doesn't go off through.
But otherwise, but overall, I think it's decent. Like, it's not brilliant by any means, but I'm hoping that like with Phantasm, the films retain a certain level of quality, so it remains watchable. So it's not going to be like if you were doing all the Hellraiser films.
Then Hellraiser is the one that I will not tackle. Okay. If I was to, I'd do the first 4.
Yeah.
It's just so bad because the last series of films we took was Phantasm. I'm looking on my letterbox, and people I know have started watching them. And with one person, I'm very disappointed with his review of the first one, giving it a 2-star.
No, it was better than 2 stars.
Yeah, it's twice that, mate. But everyone's got different tastes. It's just ours happens to be right. So it's been 2 months, at least 2 months, maybe 3 months since we've done the first.
Yeah.
And I said I'd read the graphic novel, didn't I?
You made claims.
Yeah, so before the next one, I'll have read some of the. It's been a weird few months.
No.
But I've got it here, and I'm looking forward to it. But also now with these, because I think at least one of these stories will be in there. As in, this is an adaptation. The photography one, did you say?
Yeah, the photography one definitely is.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting if I read it soon. Because you read it ages ago.
I did read it a long time ago. I read it. I think it was one of, if not the first Junji Ito I read, and I've read a lot of Junji Ito at this point. So yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I spent £30 on the book, so I better read it. So with this, it's a difficult one to sort of rate and stuff because it's not really a film, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it necessarily would. I wouldn't necessarily wholly recommend it as a standalone film, but at the same time, I'm glad we've watched it because I think in context it's going to be an interesting one to look back on in terms of how the series goes.
And another thing I find interesting about it, I mean, this is, Japan, late 90s. You've got to think in America at this time, there were hit TV series of things like RoboCop and Highlander. Yeah. So maybe they were trying to do that. And I rewatched some of the Highlander TV series recently. And you know what? It's all right. He's not fluff or cheesy, and I feel that that's the way. It's because I don't know if it was a massive hit. Even it's kind of I hadn't really heard of it until the Arrow release.
That's with Tomie.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was quite surprised to say, and especially that I haven't heard much about them now. When you go into Waterstones, and there's loads of Junji Ito, and honestly, teaching in schools, he's become pretty popular. Like obviously, when I was at school, you got properly bullied for being into anime. Yeah. Whereas nowadays, loads of pretty popular kids like the anime and the manga.
You go back to when I was young. Yeah, you get bullied for watching anime and what they call nerdy stuff. Yeah. Even Star Trek and stuff you get bullied for. But yet everybody would be talking about what happened on Neighbours the night before. Which is weird. I watched them both. I wanted to be in the in crowd, and I'm a nerd. So I had another point, but my brain's gone. It was about the TV stuff. Yeah, no sequels because there's a lot. I mean, just I don't know how many exactly there are, but we have another 7 to get through. They might have even made more since this. How we've got them, I won't go into that. But so I find it interesting. Sometimes when there's a hit movie,
we did pay money to get them at least.
So there's a big hit horror film. You don't necessarily get as many sequels. A film that doesn't do as well, like trying to think of something where, like, say, the original Hellraiser made money, but it wasn't like huge, and yet there's been like 10 sequels. Something like Critters, which wasn't a hit.
That's true, actually.
4 sequels to that, and Phantasm wasn't. That was a slow burn. But I think with these franchises, they know their audience, and so the budgets will go down, or they'll adapt, or move to video like they did back then. I suppose nowadays it would be streaming, but you don't really get franchises go straight to streaming, do you, nowadays?
I don't think so.
But I think the fan bases will buy. Like there was a new. The last episode that I released, there'll be another one before this, but it was Pet Sematary.
Oh yeah.
There's been a prequel to that gone straight to Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And things like Children of the Corn, there's loads of them.
Oh yeah.
And that's one that starts off all right and then gets worse.
Okay.
But some of the sequels to Children of the Corn are hilarious, but not necessarily good. That always baffles me. I mean, the original I've watched several times, but it's a 3-star film.
Yeah.
You know, if alongside this all year, if this is the first one you listen to, I'm doing, because it's the 50th anniversary of Carrie coming out this year. So all year I'm doing episodes on Stephen King.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So Pet Sematary's out, and Finner will be out by the time this one's released. So it can be loads.
I've never seen Christine. So.
I'd have got you on, but that's the next one I'm recording.
Oh, is it?
Next week I'm recording Christine. I like Christine, but you can have a listen.
I will.
Right, and then watch it. I'll lend you the... it's illegal to lend it. You'll have to get hold of a copy. Because then warnings will come up, won't they, and say, if you lend this DVD or video out, you're going to prison.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went off on one there. So to rate it, I'm going to ask you for a rent, but I'll go through what the scores are. And also, what was your favourite of the 3 stories?
Probably the second one. I liked the kind of moody film noir feel of the second one, and I remembered the original story. And I don't know, there's something quite fun about the idea. It's a bit, Portrait in the Attic, Dorian Gray. The idea that Tomie, is revealed, her demonic form is revealed in photographs. It's quite fun.
Yeah, that's why certain politicians will never look in a mirror. On Letterboxd, it's 2.8 out of 5.
Okay.
Which is all right, isn't it? 5.1 on IMDb. Amazon UK 4.1 out of 5. So that's probably had one review by the director. And then Rotten Tomatoes 13%. So out of 5? I know you don't like the ratings, but I think this is fun.
If I have to, then it'd be 2, but I wouldn't, it's like 2.5 in between 2 and 3.
Yeah, for me 2.5, because for what it is, for low budget and TV, so it's got its restraints, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd have liked to have seen them each episode like a week apart. But also, because it's episodic, you wouldn't get a show like this now because everything has to continue and have a...
And it gets tiresome. Like, I've been slogging through the last season of Stranger Things. I've been, watched it with my parents, and I hardly watch anything with my parents. Yeah. And I just think, oh, God, I wish it had just lasted, 2 seasons or something. It really didn't need to be so stretched out. The trouble with TV nowadays is it will go on until no one watches it anymore, or they run out of ideas. Till they run out of ideas, or everyone's moved on actor-wise. They will just keep churning it out to make money. And so many great TV series have gone that way. Game of Thrones went that way. Or things are brought back when they don't really need to be, like, say, Arrested Development, where the first 2 to a degree 3 seasons are great, and it's like, just leave it. You don't need to. I mean, I make an exception for Twin Peaks: The Return, which I think is a masterpiece, but Twin Peaks: The Return is sort of its own thing. It's very much a late period Lynch after Mulholland Drive and Inland Empire. And
it was different, and it was Lynch, wasn't it?
It's much more like a Lynch project than it is a traditional continuation.
So we both say about 2.5. So this will probably be a bit of a shorter episode because it was a short film. It only lasts 72 minutes.
Yeah, and it is basically 3 short films or 3 TV episodes together. So what's the next one we have?
This is I'm going to go through the ones.
Okay.
So I'll go backwards. So I'll end on the next one. The final film they made in 2011 is called Tomie Unlimited, which is quite funny because it implies we're going forever and that's the last one. Then before that is Tomie versus Tomie, which I assume is about her parents getting divorced and having
have to battle over who gets Tomie. Yeah,
Tomie's Revenge, 2005. Also in 2005, God, they were prolific as the Carry On team. Tomie Beginning, which is quite
prequel, presumably of sorts.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. 2002, Tomie Forbidden Fruit.
Oh God.
Yeah, that'd be the kinkier one. And then we've got 2001, Tomie Rebirth, which that seems a generic horror sequel.
Yeah, I mean, she does rebirth in every.
Yeah.
In every.
And the next one that we'll be doing, made in 2000, Tomie Replay.
Oh.
Which I hope is just not the first film.
Yeah, I mean there are some anime series that Melancholy of Hiraki Suzumiya, notoriously the second season is just clips from the first season. So,
I might have mentioned this to you before. I've probably mentioned on the podcast. Have you seen Silent Night, Deadly Night 2?
I haven't.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Right? It's an hour and a half film, but the first 45 minutes is the murderer in prison retelling the first film.
No.
And it's just, I watched it the night after watching the first one, and I'm like, and I paid like 15 quid for it, and I'm like, what's this? But then, luckily, the last 45 minutes is so terrible, it's amazing. I thoroughly recommend it. I think it's a masterpiece. And you've just grabbed the book there.
See if I can see without showing too much the photos of her, but
it's an audio podcast though, so we can't.
No, I can't show it.
Can't show people. But thank you very much for coming on. I've enjoyed this. It's nice to. You're one of the few people I have on, and we watch the film and then go straight into it. Usually, it's I watch separately, loads of research, and then do it.
That.
Well, we don't do that. Well, I think it works for this as well because we're all kind of new to the film.
Yeah.
So. It's time to plug your podcast.
Oh, yes. So my podcast is Still Scared, Talking Children's Horror, which we've been going for 8 years now, which is ridiculous. It doesn't feel like it's been 8 years, but it has. And, yeah, we sort of talk about children's books, films, television. If it scared either of us as a child, then it counts. So sometimes we're horror adjacent. We do dark fantasy. For instance, a lot of the stuff tends to be particularly from the 90s, but I guess sort of 70s through to now. But we did do the Water Babies and the original books Victorian. So that's, I guess, the oldest thing we've done. And the episode we last recorded that Ren is currently transcribing, I edit them all and then do add background music and bits, and then Ren very scrupulously transcribes every episode, bless them, because they want it to be accessible. So it's currently being transcribed and it's on Robert Cormier. Do you know?
No.
So doesn't seem very well known in this country, but one of the most banned American children's writers, banned in loads of schools. And this is the first time we've covered something where I kind of get it.
Right.
So I could say, this isn't my kind of child-friendly sort of child-friendly podcast, so I could just not skirt around it. But basically, Fade, which is a kind of Invisible Man retelling story, the main character is has a crush on his aunt, but this is to speak lightly. Literally, there's a section where he accidentally ejaculates while looking at, and it's played very awkwardly.
This kids book.
Well, young adult, but basically kids' libraries. Yeah. So he's sexually obsessed with his aunt, and then later there's an incestuous relationship between a brother and a sister. So kind of get it. He's a very skilled writer. But I was actually moments where I'm quite shocked. I was like, oh my god, don't think anyone under 16 should be reading
Yeah,
this.
you was like, come again?
but seriously, yeah, no, they're some really dark.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the ones I've been reading, which I didn't properly cover on the podcast because I hadn't got my copy yet, is literally called After the First Death. And it starts with someone being shot on a school bus, and part of the novella is narrated from the point of view of the terrorist.
Right.
So I kind of get why some parents might have seen these books.
When were these written?
Well, he started in the 70s, so sort of 70s through early 2000s.
Okay.
But yeah, he is one of the most banned children's authors, and I kind of get it. They are really pretty dark, but fascinating, like really interesting. And to say, well known in America, but really not outside of America.
Yeah. You can see why.
Yeah.
No, not as good as Clifford though. Red Dog.
Oh, and I've got a phone call. So with this, shall we bring things to a close?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Adam, and we'll be back very soon. I'm Beyond Grace and Stars on social media. Whatever platform you're listening on, do please give us a rating, review, 5-star reviews and things like that do really help. If you feel like sharing, please do as well. Tell your friends who are into horror. We do sci-fi as well, of course, which I'll be doing more of very soon. And keep checking everything. There's going to be more episodes very soon. At the moment, I'm kind of putting one out a week, but then I'll go back to one a fortnight like I was doing. Because I had a few months off at the beginning of the year and I just want to get stuff going. Stephen King season's going alongside this at the moment. There will be others as well. Going to go back and finish the Critters franchise, which I started last year. Had some problems there with people who wanted to come on and talk about them, and we never got around to doing it, but we will. And eventually, I might leave it for a while, but I am going to go through all the Friday the 13th movies as well. As mentioned in that, do follow Adam's podcast as well. The Still Scared podcast is fantastic, children's horror. And yeah, I'll be back very soon. Thank you all very much for listening. It is appreciated. Do comment on things, talk to us, as people often inbox and talk to me in person who know me. But do it online. Let's get group conversations going. Thank you all very much. And, keep enjoying that weird stuff. I nearly swore there, but stuff.